Hola clase. Today we are learning to make a long division with polynomials, and as usual I will give you a step-by-step guide on how to do it, and then we will make an example together. Now before we start, there are a couple of things that we need to know. First of all, we need to be familiar with the remainder theorem, which is a way of telling me that I can divide polynomials. If I've got a polynomial p of x, I can divide by any divisor. That will give me a quotient and a remainder. What this theorem tells me is that the remainder is the polynomial evaluated in A. That brings me to the factor theorem, which tells me that if x minus a is a factor, then the remainder is p of a. Well, that needs to be 0. That's the definition of a factor. And it's always useful to have some familiarity with the long division for numbers, because it's the base of this whole thing. Now for our how to step by step. First, you're going to find factors of the independent coefficient. And remember, the independent coefficient is the one without an x, the x to the power of 0. That would give you your a. So you can have your x minus a. The way of doing that, you're going to find when that is 0. Once you have that, you're going to be able to divide the whole polynomial by x minus a, and you will use 2 terms at a time until you don't have any terms, until your remainder is 0. Then if you need, then you can solve the polynomial if they ask you to it. Okay, let's see this in an example. They ask me here to solve this polynomial, which happens to be a cubic. Well, I know how to divide and how to solve quadratics. I know how to solve linears. Cubics are a bit more difficult. So the very first thing for me, it's going to be finding factors so I can factorize and solve something that it's easier. Factors of 8, I line them all, and remember, they can be positive or negative, and then I just need to start evaluating. This part we need to do a bit of guess and check, but at least we've got only 8 numbers here. So we start in order. We're evaluating 1, which remember is the same as substituting the x for whichever value we're evaluating. And we're just searching for 0. This is definitely not 0, so we need to keep on looking. We do the same with -1, and that actually is 0, so it's a good thing. That gives us my x minus a in here. Let's put it in a green, because remember, green is what I think. So now x minus a is going to be an x plus 1. And we're going to have our dividend, which is the polynomial we want to solve. Now the way of doing this, and you come here, let's do it in our brains, green over here. We've got this part, and we're only looking at the x. And then we're looking at the very first term of that polynomial that we've got. And we think, well, what could the result of this be? In our case, that's going to be an x squared. That's going to come here. It's going to be the first part of your quotient. And then you will use it to solve the long division, same as you did with numbers long time ago because now we use calculators, but it's exactly the same. If I put an x squared here, then I multiply by the divisor, and that's what I will only use 2 terms at a time. X squared times x, that's an x cubed. X squared times 1, that's a plus x squared. And then I will check the remainder against the dividend. X cubed minus x cubed, that's going to cancel, and that's a good thing. Minus 5x squared minus x squared, that's minus 6x squared, which definitely is not 0 because I still have terms to carry. So then I bring 1, and that's what I told you to use 2 terms at a time. And we repeat the same process in our mind. We think, okay, now we've got minus 6x squared, and we only look at that part, and we divide by x. Well, that's going to give me a minus 6x. That's going to be the next term in the quotient. And we will repeat the process. We will multiply times the divisor, minus 6x times x minus 6x squared, minus 6x times 1 minus 6x, and we subtract again to get our remainder. Of course, the squares cancel, and then 2x minus 6x, that's going to give you 8x in here, and we still have a term to carry, so we bring it up here, which is the plus 8. We do exactly the same. We think, all right, how much is going to be 8x divided by x? Well, that's an 8, so we can put in here plus 8, and if we multiply, 8 times x is 8x, 8 times 1 is plus 8, we do the remainder, and well, that's a good thing that they all cancel. That gives me a 0. This is my remainder, which is a 0 because we found a factor, so everything is good. Okay, we're running out of screen. Let's see how we do it in here. But now we know that this whole polynomial that we were having trouble to solve because it was a cubic is the same as x plus 1 times the result, x squared minus 6x plus 8. And of course, then this is a quadratic that I can solve with a quadratic formula, or in this case, I can factorize. Remember, 2 factors, 2 x's, and then 2 numbers that multiply to positive 8 and add to negative 6. Those are minus 2 and minus 4. So this one was quite straightforward to factorize. We got in here. This equals 0. Now I can get the x from each one of these ones, and that is just solving linears. X needs to be either minus 1, positive 2, or positive 4. And we've got the roots of the polynomial. We box it, and we're done. All right, now it's your turn to go and practice. Thanks for watching.